And hello, good evening. Welcome again, everyone, and welcome back to Michael Reads. And if you're new here, this channel is about one simple but powerful habit, and that habit is reading. I read real books in real time, and we use them as a starting point for reflection, conversation, and growth. uh, mentally, emotionally, and practically. And this isn't about being perfect, it's just about showing up and just constantly turning the pages and allowing ideas to slowly shape the way we think, the way we live, and the way we act. So if that resonates with you, feel free to like the stream. Can you subscribe to the channel, please? Or share it with someone who values growth. It costs absolutely nothing, but it does help more than you think. I mean, the aim of the channel is simply to just get people um, to put the technology down and just revert back to the old school paper. So, yeah, today we will be continuing with this great book, Bushido, The Soul of Japan. Um, and before we move into this chapter 4, which we will be looking at today, I'll just like to quickly revisit chapter 3, which was rectitude. Another word for rectitude is justice. Um, in this chapter, rectitude is described as the foundation for all virtue. It's the ability to decide upon a course of action without wavering or weaving, to act rightly when it's uncomfortable, and to stand firm in moral clarity. So Bushido teaches us that without rectitude, uh, courage becomes recklessness. Being benevolent, it becomes weakness, and honor becomes performance. So rectitude is knowing what is right and doing it because it is right, not because it's easy or because it's popular or rewarded. Um, so yeah, with that in mind, today we just are moving on to the next chapter, which is courage. So courage, it's titled "Courage: The Spirit of Daring and Bearing." So Bushido makes something very clear in this chapter, that courage is not the absence of fear. So true courage is found in right action, and it is guided by rectitude. So it is the courage to speak when silence is easier, the courage to endure when quitting feels tempting, the courage to remain disciplined when no one is watching. So this chapter challenges the idea of bravado or aggression. It reframes courage as calm strength, measured risk, and moral bravery. So, with that in mind, let's continue with reading of chapter 4, Courage. I'll just make a brief change on my lighting so that I can see better. And yeah, so grab yourself a drink, make yourself comfortable as we read um, this chapter. It's not going to be perfect, but I hope you gain some knowledge from it. So, courage, the spirit of daring and bearing, to the consideration of which we shall now return. Courage was scarcely deemed worthy to be counted among virtues unless it was exercised in the cause of righteousness. In his Analects, Confucius defines courage by explaining, as is often his wont, what its negative is. Perceiving what is right, he says, and doing it not argues lack of courage. Put this epigram into a positive statement and it runs, courage is doing what is right. To run all kinds of hazards, to jeopardize oneself, to rush into the jaws of death, these are too often identified with valor, and in the profession of arms, such rashness of conduct. What Shakespeare calls valor misbegot is unjustly applauded, but not so in the precepts of knighthood. Death for a cause unworthy of dying for was called a dog's death. To rush into the thick of battle and to be slain in it, says a prince of Mito, is easy enough, and the merest churl is equal to the task. But, he continues, it is true courage to live when it is right to live, and to die only when it is right to die. And yet the prince had not even heard of the name of Plato, who defines courage as the knowledge of things that a man should fear and that he should not fear. A distinction which is made in the West between moral and physical courage has long been recognized among us. What samurai youth has not heard of great valor and the valor of a villain? Valor, fortitude, bravery, fearlessness, courage being the qualities of soul which appear most easily to juvenile minds and which can be trained by exercise and example, were, so to speak, the most popular virtues early emulated among the youth. Stories of military exploits were repeated almost before boys left their mother's breast. Does a little boy cry for any ache? The mother scolds him in this fashion. What a coward to cry for a trifling pain. What will you do when your arm is cut off in battle? What when you are called upon to commit harakiri? We all know the pathetic fortitude of a famished little boy prince of Sendai, who in the drama is made to say to his little page, "Seest thou those tiny sparrows in the nest, how their yellow bills are open wide, and now see, there comes their mother with worms to feed them. How eagerly and happily the little ones eat. But for a samurai, when his stomach is empty, it is a disgrace to feel hunger." Anecdotes of fortitude and bravery abound in nursery tales, though stories of this kind are not by any means the only method of early imbuing the spirit with daring and fearlessness. Parents, with sternness sometimes verging on cruelty, set their children to tasks that called forth all the pluck that was in them. Bears hurl their cubs down the gorge, they said. Samurai's sons were, were let down the steep valleys of hardship and spurred by Sisyphus like tasks. Occasional deprivation of food or exposure to cold was considered a highly efficacious test for inuring them to endurance. Children of tender age were sent among utter strangers with some message to deliver, were made to rise before the sun and before breakfast attend to their reading exercises, walking to their teacher with bare feet in the cold of winter. They frequently, once or twice a month, as on the festival of a god of learning, came together in small groups and passed the night without sleep, in reading aloud by turns. Pilgrimages to all sorts of uncanny places, to execution grounds, to graveyards, to houses reputed to be haunted, were favorite pastimes of the young. In the days when decapitation was public, not only were small boys sent to witness the ghastly scene, but they were made to visit alone the place in the darkness of night, and there to leave a mark of their visit in the trunkless on the trunkless head. Does this ultra Spartan system of drilling the nerves strike the modern pedagogist with horror and doubt? Doubt whether the tendency would not be brutalizing, nipping in the bud the tender emotions of the heart? Let us see what other concepts Bushido had of valor. The spiritual aspect of valor is evidenced by composure, calm presence of mind. Tranquility is courage in repose. It is a statical manifestation of valor, as daring deeds are dynamical. A truly brave man is ever serene. He is never taken by surprise. Nothing ruffles the equanimity of his spirit. In the heat of battle, he remains cool. In the midst of catastrophes, he keeps level his mind. Earthquakes do not shake him. He laughs at storms. We admire him as truly great, who, in the menacing presence of danger or death, retains his self possession, who, for instance, can compose a poem under impending peril or hum a strain in the face of death. Such indulgence, betraying no tremor in the writing or in the voice, is taken as an infallible index of a large nature, of what we call a capacious mind, which, from being pressed or crowded, has always room for something more. It passes current among us as a piece of authentic history that, as Otadoken, the great builder of the castle of Tokyo, was pierced through with a spear, his assassination knowing the poetical predilection of his victim, accompanied his thrust with this couplet: Ah, how in moments like these our heart doth grudge the light of life. Whereupon the expiring hero, not one whit daunted by the mortal wound in his side, added the lines: Had not in the hours of peace it learned to lightly look on life. There, there is even a sportive element in a courageous nature. Things which are serious to ordinary people may be but play to the valiant. Hence, in old warfare, it was not at all rare for the parties to a conflict, to exchange repartee, or to begin a rhetorical contest. Combat was not solely a matter of brute force, it was as well an intellectual engagement. Of such character was the battle fought on the bank of the Koromo River late in the 11th century. The Eastern Army routed, its leader, Sadato, took to flight. When the pursuing general pressed him hard and called aloud, "It is a disgrace for a warrior to show his back to the enemy," Sadato reined his horse upon this, and conquering chief shouted an impromptu verse: "Torn into shreds is the warp of the cloth." Scarcely had the words escaped his lips when the defeated warrior, undismayed, completed the couplet: "Since age has worn its threads by use." Yoshi, whose bow had all the while been bent, suddenly unstrung it and turned away, leaving his prospective victory to do as he pleased. When asked the reason for his strange behavior, he replied that he could not bear to put to shame one who had kept his presence of mind while hotly pursued by his enemy. The sorrow which overtook Anthony and Octavius at the death of Brutus has been the general experience of brave men. Kenshin, who fought for 14 years with Shingen, when he heard of the latter's death, wept aloud at the loss of the best of enemies. It was this same Kenshin who had set a noble example for all time in the treatment of Shingen, whose provinces lay in a mountainous region quite away from the sea, and who had consequently depended upon the Hojo provinces of the Tokaido for salt. The Hojo prince, wishing to weaken him, although not openly at war with him, had cut off Shingen all traffic in this important article. Kenshin, hearing of his enemy's dilemma and able to obtain his salt from the coast of his own dominions, wrote Shingen that, in his opinion, the Hojo lord had committed a very mean act, and that although the Kenshin was at war with him, Shingen, he had ordered his subjects to furnish him with plenty of salt, adding, "I do not fight with salt, but with the sword," affording more than a parallel to the words of Camillus: "We Romans do not fight with gold, but with iron." Nietzsche spoke for the samurai heart when he wrote, "You are to be proud of your enemy. Then the success of your enemy is your success also." Indeed, valor and honor alike required that we should own as enemies in war only such as prove worthy of being friends in peace. When valor attains this height, it becomes akin to benevolence, the, the feeling of distress, love, magnanimity, affection for others, sympathy, and pity, which were recognized to be supreme virtues, the highest of all attributes of the human soul. And that brings an end to chapter 4. And with those last few lines, that was the beginning of chapter 5, which is benevolence, the feeling of distress. Wow, that was such a powerful, powerful chapter. I really enjoyed that, chapter 4. I'd just like to include a few little closing thoughts and maybe some reflections on that chapter 4. You know, one thing becomes clear. It's courage is not loud, but it is consistent. Um, mental growth requires courage. I mean, the courage to challenge all old beliefs, to sit with discomfort, and to accept responsibility of our own thinking. Uh, Consciousness, I feel it expands when we dare to observe ourselves honestly, our habits, our reactions, and the way we use our time. Um, you know, uh, we should always have a plan, and we should always aim to try to move forward and look for better, brighter days. I mean, success in any meaningful sense, it demands courage, to show up daily, to stay disciplined and remain focused long after motivation fades, because motivation sometimes does fade. It's kind of like waking up and opening the curtains and seeing it's a cold, rainy day. That's just a simple little vice that can um, depreciate the amount of motivation that we have. With health, physical and mental, is built through courageous choices that we make repeatedly, like choosing rest over burnout, uh, movement over stagnation, and long term well being over short term pleasure. You know, when we're building wealth, it's not about greed. It's about stability. I'll say it's foresight and stewardship. It takes courage to delay gratification, to organize time effectively, and to stay committed to a plan when sometimes the results could be a bit slow. You just have to keep that consistency and be patient. Selflessness requires courage. Sorry, to give without expectation, to listen without involving our ego, and to build relationships based on respect, trust, and shared growth, rather than wanting to benefit of someone who might or might not be doing better than you. Just be selfless and build those pure, longer lasting relationships. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. And when we organize our time with intention, we reduce unnecessary problems. When we act with courage, um, guided by principle, I mean, life becomes simpler. Not easier, but it becomes a whole lot clearer. So, Bushido teaches us that courage is not dramatic, it is daily alignment between virtues and actions. And when we do that, we build um, stability, we build lasting relationships, we build and we gain some inner peace, and we end up having a life that we can stand behind. Uh, with those closing thoughts, I'd like to say thank you for joining me and reading with me today. If this chapter sparked a thought, a question, or even a disagreement, share it in the comments below. That's where real growth happens, where we can discuss and share and air our opinions, and see if we're interpreting things right. So feel free to put your comments in the comment section, or send me an email. There's an email attached to this channel. But with that, I will say goodbye, and until next time, keep reading, keep showing up, and let's just keep moving forward. Um, and thank you for taking your time to join me here on Michael Reads. And until the next one, which is scheduled for uh, a couple of days' time at 6 p.m. Yeah, until we see each other on that one again, thank you and have a good evening.